Good evening. This is your chance to set goals and stick to them. We are a community of people that is supporting each other and hashtag always working to be better. If you want to set health goals and meet them, join us today. Welcome to the January Health Challenge live show. This channel is Happy Trails Hiking, and here you will find information on H3O, health, happiness, and hiking in the great outdoors. My name is Kay, and I am thrilled that you are here with us today. We have a fantastic show for you tonight, and our show is brought to you by our Shopify store, and you can find things from our Shopify store like the fancy Bryce Canyon collage that is now up on your screen at our Shopify store, which says that I can't post it in my own chat. That's funny. Anyway, so my Shopify store is listed down below in the description. If you would like more things like that, please feel free to go shopping, and we would appreciate that very, very much. Yeah, interesting. It won't let me chat in my own chat. That's pretty funny. I'll try that again later. Tonight, we've got a fantastic show for you, and I just want to be really excited about things. And so I'm going to say good evening to a few people, and you'll notice that Clif Rizer is in the room. Hello, hello, he says. And Tanya Lambert was here. And I don't know if Tanya's still here. So Tanya, if you're still here, type away so that we know you're here. Life on the Trail, Gary's here. Bill Beer Belly Travelers, AU Pack Mule, Irvin DePaid Tourist, Angel Dominici. Shannon Rizer is here, and I'm guessing she's related to you, Clif. DIY Solar and Homestead. Hey, Sarge, how's it going? And Panic D Paranormal Videos. It is good to see you guys. Oh, and Lori Bryant. Lori Bryant, my awesome sister Maud, is here and dropping my Shopify link. Thank you, Lori. I appreciate that. I don't know what happened. That's just weird. But anyway, I do have to go over one quick news as I see it, and I should get some really fancy music for this, but I don't have any yet. But I do have a thumbnail thingamabobber for that. And then we'll get into pressing Dr. Clif with lots of stuff. But the news as I see it. Panic D Videos right after our show at 5:45 my time, 6:45 Clif's time, and 6:45 most everybody else's time in the chat. It's Panic D Videos is having a premiere, and it is called The Man Who Saved the Fort. And it's a paranormal video, so I'm very excited about it, and they always do awesome work, and I love that. So, okay, so that's the news as I see it. And I really want to get into our interview tonight. So for those of you who don't know Dr. Clif yet, please make sure that you check the description. I'm going to try to type into my own chat. Oh, it did it. There is Dr. Clif's channel, and he has 77 subscribers right now. And I don't know why he doesn't have more, but I'm going to let him go ahead and just tell you about his channel and what he's got going on. And so, Clif, take it away. Welcome to the show. We're happy that you're here.
Thank you. Yes, my channel is about healthcare and fitness, but as somebody else said today, it's not boring, kind of just plain and will put you to sleep when you're watching it. I try to make it accessible, understandable, and as much fun as stuff like, sore backs can be. So I do a morning show that I was doing daily for 3-4 months that has to do with healthy eating choices and things that I was eating that I reviewed if they were good or bad. And that's going to move to more of a weekly show, which I talked about in my video today, because I'm going to be working more on improving my overall fitness to, more like it was a couple decades ago. And I'm taking people on that trip, but because it's going to take a little bit more work, and because the first quarter of the year is by far my busiest time because I see all the snowbirds that come to Florida for the winter, it's only going to be a once a week video instead of daily. But I have that. Then I also have Cubicle Fitness, which is where people that sit in an office all day or sit editing videos on YouTube all day uh, can have like a 5 to 15 minute workout right from their chair. And then there's some other things I just throw in, like exercise you can do if your back's hurting, exercise if you have a sore rotator cuff, but it's not bad enough that you need surgery, or you know, just general things that you would see a physical therapist for.
Sure. I love your cubicle fitness. When I first saw it, I thought of my parents because they're older than I am, obviously. But my dad has had knee surgery. And when you were doing the cubicle fitness things, I was like, you know what? My dad could do that. And my mom has had bad hips for a while, and she has bursitis. And
Oh yeah.
so yeah, I was just like, my parents could do that, and they would really pretty much like that. So yeah, I really enjoyed your cubicle fitness, and I think that was one of the first things I watched on your channel. And then yeah, and then I got into the yogurts, and then you started coffee, and oh, love coffee. Anyway,
Yes,
a
most
few
people.
a few other people have come into the room. President Sod is here, as well as Chris Aconi, Susan's Creative, Karen Summers, and Nature Nerd has come in, or Nature Nerd Outdoors. So thank you for coming. Guys, tonight I'm interviewing Dr. Clif Rizer. So if you have questions for Dr. Clif, and I call him Dr. Clif because he has a doctorate in physical therapy. So he knows way more about exercising than I do. So if you have questions for him or for me, but whatever, make sure that you type at Happy Trails Hiking or at Clif Rizer in the chat, and we will get to those questions. Dr. Clif, you put out a video today, which I thought was amazing. And you shared a lot of your backstory with that, and it changed some of my questions that I have for you. So your backstory is that 20 years ago, you were a pretty athletic dude, and you could, move a car, as you said. But you didn't have the physical fitness that you thought that you should have, or you were a pretty big guy, as you said. So how did that change the way that you went about personal training, physical therapy stuff? Does that make any sense? Does that question make sense?
Sure.
Okay.
I found that, there's a lot of different types of fitness, and that some people, that everybody's level of fitness, whether it's strength or balance or flexibility, varies a lot. And there's certain minimums that just make, daily life a whole lot easier. And it, in school we're taught, and it's one of those things that most of us kind of ignore, but we're taught that fitness is kind of like a table where it has different legs. So you have one leg that's strength, and one leg that's flexibility, and one leg that's endurance and conditioning. And I had a very big leg for strength, but the other legs really weren't there. So my table, you wouldn't have wanted to put anything like a cup of coffee on top of my table. It would have slid right off. So I realized that unless I was going to become like a professional weightlifter, or try to go to the Olympics, that it just didn't make sense being the size I was, because I was getting to where I wasn't comfortable in my own body. I tried to go play soccer with some friends, and I got all this chest pain. I would, be, breathing hard just trying to put on shoes and socks or something. It just didn't make sense. So I started looking at a more all-around fitness program that involved more running, although that wasn't really possible at the beginning, like I talk about, but more walking and rollerblading and other things where I could get moving, and then some other stretching activities, and even played a little bit with Pilates and yoga and different things, just to try everything out. And then it also made it so I'm able to incorporate that stuff when I, have patients, either to give them some of those things, or if they come from a different background, like, they were elite marathoner, or they, never have done any structured exercise, but they do a lot of hiking, or they do a lot in this area, a lot of surfing. I I, I realize that you know people are starting at different levels, and there's certain things that they may be good at and not good at, but also certain things that they need to focus on for their activities. You
Got
know,
it. So, like when I'm hiking, I know this morning in your video you said you were going to be focusing on your lower back. And I love that because my backpack, well, it hurts my shoulder, neck and shoulders, and then it all rides on my lower back. And so when we hike, and we did a few miles this weekend, but yeah, when we hike, I really need those exercises for my lower back and things like that. So yeah, I'm really excited about your lower back exercises. You work with, do you mostly work with older people working down in Florida? And you said snowbirds. So I'm assuming that a lot of your clients are older, or maybe they're not. Can you kind of
well,
tell us about your clientele?
I'm kind of a old school, uh, like your general community physical therapist. There aren't many people still that see pretty much everybody in the community, but I'm a small, like, there's large towns around us, but we're kind of a little village almost right on the beach in South Florida. So there's only 3,000 people in my town year round, but in the winter there's over 10,000.
Oh, wow.
And most of those extra, you know, 6, 7, 8,000 people are all over 65.
Okay.
But they come here to be active. They don't come to just sit, it's not like your parents or your grandparents, 70 and 80-year-olds that just want to sit in the shade and play shuffleboard.
Right.
Right? They come to play tennis 6, 7 days a week. They come to, golf every day. Some of them are out there running marathons and surfing. And so
Like
I
the
do
cool
what I
grandma.
call a lot of geriatric sports medicine. So I see a lot of people between maybe 50 and 80 that still want to be as active as they were when they were 30 and 40.
Awesome. That'll be me. That'll be me. I'll be really excited about that. I really want you to share your tagline that you give at the end of all of your videos because I love it. And kind of explain where it came from, if you don't mind.
Oh, sure. It's life is a strength sport, so get stronger and get living.
Okay. And where did it come from?
What I've, just over time, I kind of just found that I was telling a lot of people that, you just need to be stronger. They would, or what would happen is, especially my personal training clients that I have, they would come back so excited because they would tell me things like, and these would be, most of my personal training people are in their mid 40s to early 60s, but still very active. And they would say, I went to my mother's house to help with the spring planting of all the flowers. And it was so much easier this year to carry like the 30 pounds bags of mulch around. Or
Yeah.
I got all the Christmas decorations out of the attic, and it didn't bother my shoulder like it has the last 2 or 3 years before that. So there's an awful lot of things that we do throughout the day that require more strength than we realize. And if you're stronger, then you just are able to enjoy things. You don't have the aches and pains as much. You don't have to worry like, oh, I'd like to go do that, but I don't know if, that zip lining or whatever it is. I don't know if I have the strength to do that. I have to climb up a rope ladder to get to where it's at, and I don't know if my upper body will let me do that or something.
Right, right. So the thing that we titled our our show for tonight is about aches and pains. And it was kind of your suggestion that we talk about this. Lots of people are starting new workout plans here at the new year, and I started running, and I have noticed that I have a few muscles that I didn't know I had that hurt. And so I guess is a major question that you really need to ask, like, do you have people come and say, I'm really sore, I need to go to the doctor, but like, do I need to go to the doctor because my muscles are sore? And when do you know when it's not just soreness anymore?
Yes, that's a good question. I actually did a video on it a long time ago. Well, long time ago in my channel, which is only about 4 months old. So probably like 3 months ago, I did a video that said, I think the title was something like, I'm really sore. Is there something wrong?
Right.
And because, especially when you start something brand new, your body's like, whoa, what are you doing to me? This isn't
Sure.
normal. So pain is something that's very subjective and very, science really doesn't have a hand on how that is expressed. And there's some people, I have these, little old Irish ladies that come in and they have a knee replacement, and they need no medication, and they're like, oh, this isn't nearly as bad as having a child, and I had 7 of them without any medication. And
Mhm.
then there's other people that they have a sore ankle or sore big toe, and they think they need to go to the doctor and have surgery on it because it's just a little bit sore and it might just be a blister.
Sure.
So it's difficult to know for sure, but there are some main things to look at. If you have soreness and you've started something new and it's in the muscle, so like if you started running and your quads are sore, like the front of your leg or
Yeah,
the
like
back of your leg,
hamstrings.
hamstrings. If it's soreness and it's in the muscle,
Mhm.
and you can do a little bit of gentle exercise, a little bit of walking, a little bit of like, air squats or something, just getting up and down from a chair, and then you're like, "Oh, it actually feels a little better because you get some blood flow in there,"
Mhm.
then you're fine. I
Okay.
just keep doing what you're doing. If the pain is more in the joint, like you're like, "Oh, my knees are killing me, my ankles hurt," that you have to be a little cautious, but especially if you didn't get big sharp pain while you were doing the activity,
Okay.
it's probably just soreness still, but that's something maybe you want to take an extra day off to rest or use some ice on the joint. Just
Gotcha.
because there's inflammation in the joint, and inflammation in the joint is a not danger, but it's a
It's a
little bit
warning sign.
more concerning. It's a warning to your system like, "Hey, let's not beat up our joints because we only have one set." Uh,
Right.
Soreness in the muscles is a normal thing. Now, if you're getting progressive, like if you decided just randomly, I'm going to run a marathon in 2 months, and you said, you know how I'm going to do that? I'm gonna run a mile today, and tomorrow I'll run 2 miles, and the next day I'll run 3 miles, and in 2 months I'll be ready to run 26 miles. That's definitely not a recommended plan, in case you're wondering.
Yeah.
But you would get progressively sore to where it would be hard to get up and down off the toilet, and then even though it's just muscle soreness, that's not something that you want to do. Your body will let you know, like, hey, you should back off a little.
So, how many rest days do you recommend a week? Like, okay, so if somebody's going to do like a couch to 5K, or they're going to run a half marathon, and they're saying, okay, I got to do this training schedule, how many, like, what is a rest day? Like, so training for how many days and then rest, so on and so forth.
Well, you know, it all depends. A lot of it depends on where you start from. If
Oh,
if it's
yeah.
a true like couch to 5K, then probably 3, maybe 4 days of training a week, but they're not all the same. You would have a day or 2 that you would run fairly quickly for a fairly short distance, maybe a mile if you're training for a 5K, because that's 3 miles. And
Okay.
then you would have one day where you would run a little slower, and
Mhm.
then and run a little further.
Okay.
Now, if you're somebody that I'm training for a 5K and I want to get the best time ever and I've run like 25Ks before,
Sure.
that's a different animal. Then you're probably running 4 or 5 days a week, and you're doing like one day where you're doing sprints, and one day where you're doing hills. And it's different depending on your training level. But to start out, most programs, whether they're conditioning or strengthening, actually, you know, 2 to 4 days a week, I find works best for most people.
Awesome. There is a question in the chat, and Panic D Paranormal Videos asks, explain when you should use heat and when you should use ice, and when you should cycle both if you get a chance. That was a big sigh.
So I find in general that especially patients in Florida, they don't really like ice because it's cold. But for a swollen joint, whether, any part of your body, knee, ankle, elbow, if the joint's swollen and kind of warm to the touch and real painful, ice is a better scenario. About 15 to 20 minutes. For muscles, if they're really sore and painful, ice can be okay because it'll kind of numb the area so it won't be so painful. And there aren't all the side effects like there is from, taking bottles full of pain medication that can eat up your stomach and have other side effects. Heat, I think if you have a muscle that's just kind of tight, especially before you exercise, like for my patients in general, when they come, if they have something going on, we heat it up first. I move them around a little bit. We do some exercises, and then we put ice on it afterwards. Unless it has to do with their spine, their neck or their back. Almost everybody does better with heat on their neck and their back than ice, because when you put ice on like your neck, everything just kind of tightens up. Sure. And it doesn't feel so good.
Okay. Neat. I have put Dr. Clif Rizer's YouTube link into the chat. We have a few new people in the room, and I did want to just say that Karen Summers is cooking, and so is Susan's creative, and I think she's drinking wine, so save me some, Susan. And then TW7 and Holscher Fishing came in as well. I think that's it. So yay. Question for the doctor. Can you please tell me the best way to extract a foot from your mouth when you've shoved it way back in there? Oh dear. TWG7, you are too much. You are fine.
You probably need an expert for that.
Right. Yeah. I do that all the time. Nuclear Jupiter is in the room and says, my mother has had many extensive back surgeries. Ice is what she uses with her brace.
That's possible.
Okay.
There are some people that, especially when somebody has a long medical history and they come to me and they say, oh, I always use ice and it feels better. And I say, well, let's keep using ice because that works for you. All right. But in my experience, with the spine, heat is usually more helpful. Now, the big disclaimer for that, especially for people that go to the chiropractor or something, is that the chiropractor will snap and crack and pop you, and they'll pretty much always recommend ice. That's because that popping is that they're forcing little joints in your spine to move, and it causes a little bit of micro swelling at that area for the first 12 to 24 hours. So they want you to ice that so it doesn't swell more and get sore. So that makes sense. But even in cases like that, I think using ice to start and then maybe putting some heat, because you have multiple layers, almost like lasagna. Something I'm definitely not eating right now.
Right. You and your keto.
you have all these stacks of muscles on top of each other in your back, and if the ice irritates them and they tighten up, it just makes you feel stiffer instead of loose. A lot of people complain when they have back stuff going on, like they just feel so tight and stiff. Well, movement is the best thing for them as long as it's in a pain-free position.
Right. I don't know if you can answer this question, but Budget Bushcraft says, what do I do for a herniated lower disc that I was told needs to be replaced after an MRI? After the VA is giving me the runaround about, just an idea after the first two. I don't know if I read that wrong, but that's okay. I don't think Dr. Clif is here to give out medical advice today. So, Budget, you may just be out of luck. Have to listen to whatever your VA doctors are telling you, and I'm sorry.
And I'm not
And
sure about replacing they do disc replacements now. It's a fairly new, not real common surgery. Typically, they just much more common is they take the disc out and they just fuse two levels together. He doesn't say where the disc is. Oh, lower disc. So
lower.
probably in your lower back. I'm not a huge fan of that unless you're having debilitating chronic pain, like your whole leg's numb or something, because they typically, now everybody's different, but they typically don't do as well as when they fuse your neck. Like if you have a herniated disc at one or two levels in your neck, because it's such a small area, people typically do much better. In the back, it's a last resort to have any kind of surgery on your back, but sometimes it's necessary. I'm going to talk about herniated discs at some point this month because it's such a common thing.
All right, so Raising Seven Munchkins is here. Hello, we're talking to Dr. Clif Rizer, and he's a movement recovery specialist down in Florida. And she says, I really need I'm guessing you're a she, I'm sorry. I really need a chiropractor. And then Nuclear Jupiter says for her muscles, it's not the focus. She has metal vertebrae and other problems due to a horrific car accident. She once utilized heat, but she likes ice. Since the accident. Sorry, I was reading something else. And then Budget Bushcraft says, I know what I need to do. I've had 2 fusions already. And then JB Cupiter says, I used to see a massage therapy. Oh, aka massage the rapist. Oh, okay. Maybe I shouldn't have approved that comment for your arm. Okay. And then TWG7 would like me to ask if you will come to the Florida meetup. It's in St. Augustine in March, like the first weekend of March. So maybe you two can connect on Twitter. I'm part of which are you in the Best Hour Twitter group, Dr. Clif?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
I can try to get you in there.
Okay.
But that's okay. Yeah, we are at 2 minutes left. So I do want to put Panic D's premiere in there again. Well, yes, Panic D has a premiere coming up in 15 minutes. I also have a video dropping in 15 minutes, but you can watch that after the premiere. So Panic D has a premiere coming up. I have really enjoyed talking to you tonight, Dr. Clif, and I appreciate you coming. And I've enjoyed having you be a part of our 30-day and now just January health challenge for the last few months. And it's been amazing to have you. What would you like to leave our viewers with tonight before we go? Or is there anything you'd like to leave us with?
Well, I hope you all stop by my channel and get some answers to more of these questions. I have a lot of exciting things planned for this year, and I actually released a video today that talks about that a little bit. January, I'm going to do videos on the low back, and then we're just going to move up or down the body from there. I haven't decided yet, but I think probably down. I think we'll do the hip the next month and the knee the month after that, and then we'll go back up to the top. So it, if you have any, especially if you have any questions about back stuff, I'd love to have you stop over there and leave them, because they'll kind of guide me in the way my videos are being made for the next couple weeks.
Right. I will copy this question that Panic D has right now, because I know that he's trying to get over to his event tonight. And then I'll just make sure that we have that. Also, if you are interested in joining the January Health Challenge, we meet on public streams Monday at 10 a.m. and then Thursday at 5 p.m. and those are both central times. And then we have meetings that are closed meetings just for the people in the challenge on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. And Tuesdays at 5 p.m. and then Wednesday and Friday are at 10 a.m. all central times again. But if you'd like to be in that health challenge, Lori has posted the link for the health challenge sign up. You can sign up and I will send you emails for those unlisted streams. Appreciate everybody coming tonight. Please go over and check out Dr. Clif's channel, and a round of applause. Thank you for being here tonight, Clif, and thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Until next time, which will be next Monday, you are not replaceable. Go do something great for your health, and I will see you later. Thanks, everybody.